Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to go over the British Special Rules. And the first one I want to go over is what's called British Bulldog. Basically, what happened here was this German platoon assaulted these two British platoons. I know they're American. I don't have any British infantry or tanks or stuff like that. So I'm going to have to use my American stuff to represent the British. So these are British. They got assaulted by the Germans. Germans did their attack, took a few guys out. Now, Britain wants to counter assault. So these guys are confident, so we need a 4, and they rolled a 3. Well, with British Bulldog, they get to re-roll that. 5, successful, they get to counter assault. So they're going to move in and do their counter assault. So basically, it gives you 2 chances to try to get that counter assault back in there. So that's what British Bulldog does. Let me get ready for the next thing. So now we've got Germans up here. Whoops. And the British are wanting to assault them, but they have no platoon commander. And normally you can't assault. They're just going to sit there, they'll shoot and defend themselves, and if they're assaulted, they will defend themselves. But since they don't have this platoon commander, normally you can't do that. However, or normally you can't assault. However, with carry on sergeant, this British platoon can assault. And combat's over, they take these guys out and they want to consolidate. They can also consolidate. And they don't need to remain in command. I mean, they could be spread out. Also, like this one could be way over there and these two over here. So it's another British rule for melee or assaulting that they get that allows them to continue on fighting even though they lost their platoon commander. Most like American, German, well, German, not some Germans, but like American, if I lost my platoon commander, these guys are just going to stay here until my first in command, my company commander, nominates a new person to be the platoon commander. But British gets around that with carry on sergeant. If you are running a British infantry company and you're doing a mission that does not have meeting engagement, you can do this special rule called night attack. If you decide to do that, your company has the always attack special rule. And if the player that makes that night attack is the attacker, interesting, night attack is the attacker, the game will start in darkness and then you start using the dawn rules. In addition, all these British platoons that contain only infantry, so this contain only infantry, they can use the spearhead special rule also. So night attack basically is going to give, and remember it can't be during meeting engagement. So if the mission has meeting engagement, just forget it, you can't do it. So this mission does not have meeting engagement. If it does, you can decide, you can say, I want night attack. You become always attack. And if you're the attacker, the game starts in darkness and you're working towards dawn. But also, all platoons that are only infantry get a spearhead move. So that's what night attack is going to get you. Now we're going to run into anti-tank guns. All right, the next rule I want to go over is what's called tip and run. Interesting name there. And basically, if the British platoon has tip and run. I'm going to center these a little better. There we go. So if they have tip and run during the shooting step, and they're done shooting, so they got their 4 shots and they hit twice and so forth. So they're done shooting, and you're going to go to your next platoon or the shooting step's over. But when you are done shooting them, they have to pass a skill test. So let's say these guys are trained, so we need a 4+. It went way up there with 3, so failed. So nothing's going to happen. But what if they do make it? There it is. They basically get a stormtrooper move. They get to move 4 inches, but it has to be 4 inches away from, up to 4 inches, away from the enemy platoon that is shot at. So if they shot this direction, they're going to move back. So it's similar to Stormtrooper in that you get the same distance, but it has a limitation on which direction you can move. So basically it's shoot and run back is the way to think about it. And again, if they don't pass that test, like I did in that first time, then they don't get to do it. It's kind of like that Stormtrooper. If the guys don't make that Stormtrooper check, they don't get to do it. Now, if you do the tip and run with these guys, they cannot assault this turn. So if you want them to assault, do not have them do the tip and run. All right, so that's tip and run. Now we're going to head to tow hooks. All right, tow hooks is a really simple rule. So let's say the Sherman, this British Sherman, has tow hooks. Basically means that any tank with tow hooks can tow a 6-pounder or a 17-pounder. So whoop, it becomes kind of a transport for them. And any of their crew will be tank riders. And they'll have that 5+ save, and if they get hit, you know, they're going to dismount under fire and all that stuff. So tow hooks basically allow you to tow either the 6-pounder or 17-pounder gun without using the transport. This is the transport for them. And also the crew is now riding on the tank. So that's all tow hook does for you. All right, the next rule I want to go over is semi-indirect fire. So what we're going to pretend is that these are some just normal Shermans and there's a Firefly. Like I said, I don't have the British equipment, so we're just going to use my American stuff. To use semi-indirect fire, they could not have moved during the movement steps, so they did not move. And all the teams they are shooting at, so we have these stugs up here they're going to be shooting at. I was hoping to get everybody in here. There we go. So these stugs up here that they're trying to shoot at, all of them have to be more than 16 inches away. Well, yes, yes, and yes. So they're more than 16 inches away. They're going to get 2 shots each. And actually, I'm going to do these in different colors because we got normal Shermans and we got the Firefly. And these guys, we're going to say these Germans are veterans and they're more than 16 inches away, so we're going to need 5s. So we shoot and we hit once here. That's cocked. Missed, 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 missed. Oh my gosh, a lot of 1s there. Well, with semi-indirect fire, I get to re-roll these. Did not move. They have semi-indirect fire. And all their targets are beyond 16 inches. So now, look at that. I hit with the Firefly twice, and those guys once each. That re-roll got me 3 more hits. So that's what semi-indirect fire does for you. But you do have stipulation, could not move, and all your targets for that platoon have to be beyond 16 inches. So if this one was here, and the rest of these were beyond the 16 inches, you couldn't do it. Because this one from that platoon is within 16 inches, even though you didn't move. All right, next thing. So there's this stug. And here's the Firefly. You can't even see it. There's the Firefly. This Firefly wants to move. It's going to move up here to get within 16 inches. So it drops down to 1 die. And it's going to shoot its 1 die. That's a veteran needing 4. Missed. It's done shooting. Well, if this has what's called tally-ho, it doesn't suffer that penalty in reducing the rate of fire if the target is within 16 inches. So before with semi-indirect fire, everything had to be beyond 16 inches. Now we've moved into 16 inches, and you get to keep your rate of fire. Now there is one other stipulation with that. Since you moved, and if you moved at the double, you can't shoot as usual. So you don't get this if you move at the double. So that is a really, really nice ability that you're beyond 16 inches. Do you want to take the reroll for having semi-indirect fire, or do you want to get in closer and still keep your rate of fire? So you have that choice, but it has to have, the first one was semi-indirect fire. This one's called tally-ho. The next rule I want to talk about goes along with tally-ho, and it's called broadside. So what we got here is this British Sherman moved up, did the tally-ho, so it moved to within 16, got its 2 shots, and destroyed that Stug. Well, the Stug's buddy comes in and is shooting right here. So is it shooting front or side armor? Front. Now normally you could see the base of the weapon here is across on this side of the front of this hole, but when a tank uses tally-ho, it uses the broadside rule, which basically means we look at the turret. Where is that turret facing? Well, it's here. And if you look, the main gun is cutting across the front of that turret, so it's on the front. So we're going to be hitting front armor. It's just as if it was turned this way. So now, are we on front or side? Side. Now are we on front or side? Front. Because again, we're just looking at the turret, and it's on the front of the turret. Normally you would, if it's in this situation, 1 to 3, 4 to 6, roll to 4, we're going against top armor or front armor. And if I roll low, which I can't seem to do, there we go, 3, we're going against side armor. That's the normal way you play it. But when you use broadside, you basically just look at the turret. Where is it facing? That's going to tell you front armor or side. So in this situation, what are we at? Side. What about that? Front. Okay, let's get a little tricky. What is that? Side. Again, pretend that's not there. Just look at the turret. Well, the turret's facing this direction. That's the front. The rest of it's side. Even though you're on the front of the tank, it's considered side armor when you're using a broadside rule. One thing it does say in the rule book too is that if this tank, normally, let's say this tank moves up, it can turn its turret and, you know, to get its, do its tally-ho and get 2 shots and so forth. But if this tank moves at the double, it has to keep its turret facing forward, the direction it goes. It cannot turn its turret. So if you have broadside and you move at the double, you have to point that turret towards the direction you're going. All right, so that's all I got for broadside. We're now going to move to British artillery. All right, next I'm going to set these, actually I'm going to dip this down a little bit. There we go, I'm going to set these up for the next thing, which is talking about artillery. And with British special rules, there are going to be 3 artillery rules, and I'll get to the last one, which is HMG Bombardments. But there's independent command, combined bombardment, and my target. To be able to use any of these abilities, you have to have a staff team with the artillery piece. So again, the staff team is going to play an important part on getting these special abilities with artillery. So again, it's independent command, combined bombardment, and my target. So there's 3 abilities there. Now, my target special rule is never used in early war. So, independent command, combined bombardment are used in all periods, but my target is not used in early war. Alright, the next rule I'm going to go over is the independent command. And this could be in any period of war, early war, mid-war, late war. And basically, I'm going to show you a British artillery unit here. And this is from the Overlord book. And so by using this, it's going to help explain what the terminology I'm using from the rules. So basically, the battery staff team, so that would be the staff team up here, must be attached to a gun troop. Well, what they mean is, here's a gun troop, says right here a gun troop, and this is a gun troop. So this staff team has to be attached just like any other troop, like except for the observer, like command rifle team is going to stay within command of them. So is the staff team if he's attached to them, or if he's attached to this. So you have to attach the staff team out. Also, if you have a command team in the HQ troop, it's going to join one of these. You don't replace this, but he takes over for that troop. And if he dies, this commander up here dies, then this guy's going to take over for the platoon. Now, another thing that's going to happen is that if this staff team is attached to this, any of these guns that's within command distance of that staff team counts as having a staff team. So what this allows you to do is have all guns repeat because you have a staff team with it. So if this one's not within command distance of staff team, it cannot do all guns repeat. But the rest of them are, even though he's attached to this one, if they're within command distance, they can use his ability. Now, another interesting thing about this is that these operate independently. So they don't have to stay within command distance of each other. This group can go off that way. This group can be, put off in this direction. But the staff team's going to tell you which ones are going to get those staff team abilities. So that's what this independent command does, is you attach these guys out, whichever group you want, and these act, even though they're bought as one force, they're going to act independently of each other. They can join together, because they have a staff team, into one large bombardment, well, as long as they have the staff teams within command distance, I should say. They can join into a large bombardment, or they can shoot their bombardment at something. They can shoot their bombardment at a different target. So that is independent command. All right, the next rule is combined bombardment. And again, this could be used in any period, early, mid, or late war. And basically, we're going back to the gun troop. So we're going back to this. So this staff team is attached to this gun troop. So what this is saying is that this one has the staff team, and let's say this is in command distance of the staff team. You can use them as the base of a combined artillery bombardment. So they're going to all join together. And they're going to use the mixed bombardment rule in case there's different guns here. Since they're all the same guns in this situation, it won't matter. But if they were different types of guns, you're going to have to use the mixed bombardment rule. Now, any other gun troops from this group may also join in on this artillery bombardment before you range in to make a huge combined artillery bombardment. Now, if a gun troop here, if a gun troop from another battery, so this is one battery, from another battery has a staff team, or is within command distance of its staff team, it may also join in with this. So basically, it's a way for British to combine a whole bunch of artillery into one big shot. So that is combined bombardment. All right, the next rule is called Mike Target, and this one is one that cannot be used in early war. Basically, when the battery shoots its artillery shot, it may re-roll that first attempt to range in. So it's kind of like the mortars. Mortars get to, if they fail that first attempt, they get to re-roll that first attempt. Now, you can't re-roll the second or third attempt, just the first one, which is better than re-rolling the second or re-rolling the third. I'd rather re-roll the first than the third. So that's a pretty good deal. So Mike Target, first thing it does for you is you get 4 chances to range in, and the first 2 chances count as the first attempt. So that's a pretty good little rule. Now, another nice thing about miking the target is that when the battery repeats the bombardment, when you have the staff team, you're able to do all guns repeat, so you don't have to range in again. Wow. Those teams caught under, that means everything, transports, men, tanks, whatever, caught underneath that bombardment must re-roll successful saves. Now, what is a successful save? Basically, if you don't have to do a firepower test, it was a successful save. If it requires a firepower test, then that was a failure. So that kind of gives you an idea of what a re-roll successful save. Now, it does say in the rule book that these refer to some of these bombardments using Mike targets as stonks and murders. So if you ever see those in the rule book, it is using, I guess, the Mike target rule. So that's Mike target. Get a re-roll, that first attempt. And if you do all guns repeat, they have the things underneath that get hit have to re-roll successful saves. Wow, that's a pretty powerful little ability there. All right, the last thing I'm going to head to is HMG Bombardments. And let me get these out. All right, HMG Bombardments. So, British Vickers HMG teams. So I'm just going to throw these out there for that. Some Americans heavy machine guns. And HMG carriers, which I'll use that to represent that, firing as HMG teams. They can actually fire bombardments. So I guess what they're doing is they're shooting her machine guns down, kind of arcing them up and shooting them down onto the target. So they're conducted exactly the same as any other artillery bombardment. So you have to have the spotter, they have to be in range, couldn't have moved, and so forth. But they don't work against things in bulletproof cover. They won't work against armor because their anti-tank and their firepower are dashes. So they have no anti-tank, they have no firepower. But even if, like these Germans here, were dug in, so they're in bulletproof cover, if they get hit, so it doesn't matter if they make their save or not, these guys don't have firepower to kill them, so nothing's going to happen to them. But because they got hit by artillery, they do become pinned down. It just takes one hit. So that is a way to quickly pin a unit down as you do with your HMGs here. You do have that option. So that's all I've got for the British special rules. The artillery one, really, I had to really think about that one because I really haven't run into too many British artillery, and so this is some new stuff to me. Hopefully I didn't flub it too much. So I don't know what video I'm going to do next. I'm going to think about it. If you have any suggestions, go ahead and post some suggestions, and we'll see what happens. So until next time, have a good game.